Hello and welcome to the Frame Podcast. My name is Craig. I'm one of three of the Frame Podcast here today, but it's a very special episode because we are here with Ryan, who you may recognize as one of Odysseus's crew members from the Odyssey. And we're here today to talk about some of the best scenes and the Odyssey and Ryan's experience throughout filming over the course of, am I right in saying 6 months of your life filming this film?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was 6 months. It was
Six
wild.
months of grueling but rewarding work, and
And
yeah, I can't wait to chat about it. So we're going to be talking about the Odyssey, talking about some of the most pivotal and then also the most incredible scenes that we saw in this film, and digging into someone that was actually there and lived and breathed it. So um, let me know all your thoughts in the comments about what you thought of the Odyssey. And be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. But let's get right into it because we know what we're here for today. Ryan, how are you doing, man? How's it over in California over there?
it's very good. Thanks for having me, Craig. Yeah, man, I'm good. It's been a wild week. This is exciting. It's an exciting week. Everybody's getting to see the movie, and it's so rewarding to see that everybody's, pretty much in general, the critics and the fans are loving it, which, is all we could hope for. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, at the time recording this, it's just 2 days since its release, and even for myself, so I went at an early screening, but I went to my local 2 days ago, and it was just absolutely packed, and I haven't seen a film that packed for a long time, especially in a local town like this. So people coming together and seeing this film. I'm not going to talk about it, but I will. A lot of there's been some negative discourse around this film, but to see people join together and how many people are loving this film is really great to see. And I'm really grateful that we're able to chat about it right now.
Yeah,
So
me
I'm going to
too,
get
man.
straight into the first question that I'm really intrigued to hear from yourself.
Yeah.
So we know obviously the Odyssey is about Odysseus's journey, all the way back to Ithaca. The film is the Odyssey, is his journey. But for yourself, Ryan, what was that's your Odyssey like in this film? What was your journey from auditioning or getting the role to the end now? What was that like for you?
It was pretty surreal, man. I not to be too spooky about it, but I was with some really close friends and my fiance on New Year's of going into 2025,
Hmm.
and they had announced that the Odyssey was a thing, and I said, if there was ever a Nolan film, I love all his films, but there was ever a Nolan film I'd want to be involved in, it's that one. About 5, maybe 6 days later, I got an audition, um, and I just saw untitled Nolan film, and I was like, wow, I know what that is.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
God. And basically, I went through, that was a Monday. I got the audition. I did it on a Wednesday. And mind you, this was when, sadly, this is when LA was basically on fire. So
Okay.
all the fires were happening all over the place. People are losing their homes. It's just like a disaster. And then meanwhile, I'm trying to like process all of that. I wasn't in any sort of danger, but a lot of people I knew were. And so it was like, okay, process that, still try to take on like the biggest opportunity in my career. And then literally within that week, it was audition Monday. I did the audition on a Wednesday, and then had a live callback with Chris on Friday. So it was a whirlwind. And this was January, and I found out probably in the middle of January that I was going to be able to do it. They wanted me to do it. I was lucky enough to be asked to do it. About 2 weeks later, I was getting on a plane to Morocco. So talk about a whirlwind from like just hoping and
Yeah.
dreaming with some friends and my fiance, to now I'm like going to Morocco and this is a real thing. So that was crazy.
Oh, I could only imagine.
Yeah. It was so exciting though. And then just meeting the guys, because I didn't, some of the guys actually had worked before. They had worked together before, or they had worked with Nolan before. This was my first chance at the dance, so I was getting to know everybody. And because we all went over together, we all
Yeah.
flew over to Morocco together, we instantly just started to get to know each other. And
Yeah. Yeah.
one of the best parts about it was just the brotherhood that we had with all the guys. It was really, there was 12 of us and Matt at the helm. And it was just so amazing. I feel like I've known all those guys my whole life, and I've only known them since last February of last year. But the brotherhood part of it was phenomenal. Super, super great.
Oh, I bet. And I could bring one of my questions forward, sort of follows on from that. And I think what's really important with a Nolan film is the amount of people that he brings in, whether they're big or small, no matter what role they play, it's always quite pivotal in a film. And I wondered from yourself and your perspective, what was it like working with Nolan and being on board the ship with the likes of Matt and Hamish as well, and
Hmm.
even John Bernthal in the scenes of when you're in the Trojan Horse. What was that like for you working with people like that, and like Nolan and Matt?
Incredible. Incredible. And what's amazing is they made it easy, man. Like, you can't help but be in awe of these guys for what they've accomplished and, the gratitude you have for the level of their work. But they're just so great. I mean, obviously I spent even more time with Matt than Chris because obviously Chris had a lot to do.
Yeah,
But man, they're both just so incredible. Matt is like the best number one you could have on a call sheet. The guy is the absolute consummate professional. He has the most amazing, genuine memory. I mean, he'll tell you stories from like 25 years ago. He remembers everybody's name. He could meet somebody one time a year or 2 years ago, and then he sees them, and it's like, oh, hey, what's going on, Jerry? The guy genuinely just connects with everybody. And
yeah,
for how much he had to juggle on this, and just in general, for him being, the movie star that he is, there's no ego, there's none of that stuff. He was just so incredible. We were all so blessed to have him leading the way. And then Chris, oh my God. I mean, I was very intimidated for sure,
yeah,
because of just his body of work, his presence, what he brings to the table. I mean, it took a while to even process that we were working on this thing with him. And, but again, no ego. He was hiking up the mountains with us, literally. Like, there was no playing favorites with anything. He was in it all with us when we're out in the Mediterranean getting bashed by the waves. He's right there along with Hoyte and the whole crew. I mean, the guy really puts himself through it with us. And that was kind of how
yeah.
he led
Okay,
by example. Like his whole thing was like, the way I took it was he wasn't going to ask us to do anything that he wasn't willing to do himself. And
okay,
like, and in many cases he did. Again, he had to hike up these things. So, and mind you, doing all of that while still holding on to what the movie needed to be and getting what he got on the screen. I mean, there's a reason he's Christopher Nolan. There's a reason he's become what he's become.
yeah,
And it
yeah.
was a real pleasure. Um, yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine what that was like, especially with Nolan being there, and I think it's nice for yourself as well having someone like Matt Damon, who is Matt Damon, and him being so down to earth. I bet that like made you feel really sort of relaxed on
Yeah,
set, even if you were bashing through waves and all this sort of stuff. Having a guy like that to relax you, I bet was quite an experience as well.
it was incredible. And again, you mentioned Himesh Patel. Man, what a guy! What a guy! What a performer he is. Everybody already knew it. He's had an amazing body of work for a long time, but I'm
Yeah,
so thrilled with just what platform this is for him now too. Like, man, if people didn't know, they know now. Like, what a performer, what a guy. It was so great to have him with us the whole way as well. It was really, really special.
yeah, he was incredible, and I think what's really great is for someone like Himesh is like for him, he started out on a soap opera in the UK called EastEnders. I don't know if you mentioned that on there, but
Yeah.
and it was you see him there, but like you say on just a second ago, his growth and the number of films that he's been in to where he is now being quite a pivotal part in a Nolan film. His journey is great, so I think, and I said in my reviews, I think he was quite the standout, and when you've got the likes of Matt Damon and Anne Hathaway there, he
Yeah.
he was incredible. Yeah,
He was. He's right there with him, man. And he was a veteran, like Matt. He's a veteran for Nolan films, right? Like he was in Tenet.
absolutely.
So
Yeah,
someone like him, Josh Stewart, Anthony Molinari, a lot of these guys, Andrew Howard, these guys have worked with him before or multiple times before.
yeah,
Getting to know them and work with them and kind of getting some insight into like, hey, like, this is kind of how it goes. Only to a certain extent, because every movie's different. Of course, this one was so massive and just challenging in all respects. But
yeah.
that was helpful too, having Himesh and Andrew and Anthony and all these guys that had been working with him before to kind of help, give you little tips, along the way for
Yes,
the guys like
yeah, yeah.
myself that were new to this company of performers.
No, absolutely. And you guys go through it. I mean, there's some really pivotal parts of it, and I think what's also quite incredible is the fact that I noticed it on my second viewing was obviously part of the story, a part of what goes through it is the men of the sea and all of this. And I think what's quite the scene when Anne Hathaway is speaking to Matt Damon about the men of the sea, and she realizes that you guys are the men of the sea, was quite an amazing thing because you guys go through it in this film. And some of the scenes, I think, some of the best incredible scenes are on the boat, but you also go through it with the likes of like the Cyclops and Cersei. For you guys, what was that like working with the Cyclops? Because we know Nolan doesn't use CGI. He had this huge
Yeah.
structure built. What was that like with the Cyclops in that cave?
It was incredible because, it's cliche, but the whole no acting required thing is true because
Yeah,
you have something to play off of, and like you said, that's Nolan's thing. He wants as much as real as possible in the camera. So, and Bill Irwin, what a
yeah,
champ that man
yeah.
is. Again, everybody knows it. He's got an incredible career, but what a hell of a guy. What an amazing, committed performer. I mean, he was in the cave with us so
Okay,
that he could give us something to play off of, even just vocally.
okay.
And that was incredible. And then, of course, he did his side of things too. I'm
Hmm.
being a little careful what I mentioned, even though so much of it is coming out now. I'm also trying to not lift the veil too much
Of course, of
and
course.
get myself in trouble. But yes,
We can keep that, yeah.
a lot of this stuff is out there. But yeah, it was incredible to sort of to be in that place. I know Matt's mentioned this before. We were in Nestor's cave in Greece, which in Greek mythology is sort of said to be the birthplace of Zeus. And the fact that that ended up being the perfect home for where we could do this sequence was amazing. And it was a good, like, man, 30, maybe 40-minute hike up that mountain basically to get to the cave. And there's bees. There are bees in there too. Like you when we
I've
entered the
heard
cave,
about
you
this.
can
Yeah,
you can
I've heard
see
of
the
it.
bees, you can hear them. They're all over that thing, and it was funny because we're like, all right, and they're saying, like, oh yeah, they're not going to sting you. They're just like these, they're just chilling. And I was like, well, have we discussed this with the bees that they're not going to sting us, or they don't have stingers? But like they were right. They literally were just, that was their home, and they would just kind of come check you out and leave. But there was just so many elements to it, working with the sheep. I mean, it was all there. Like all that stuff is actually there, and man, it was breathtaking. And we did all of that. That was, I mean, man, that was most of what we did in Greece, was that sequence. And it was incredible. Yeah, what a
Yeah.
kickoff. I mean, we went from Troy, basically in Morocco, to the Cyclops Cave in Greece.
Okay. So that's what
And
that was the order of it. So you guys were, because obviously we know it's quite a a non-linear thing where um, he's talking to Calypso about the journey. So is that what you guys did? You went from sort of Morocco to all the bits of Troy, and then you
mhm.
went over to Greece to the Cyclops, and then did you go over to then was it Scotland? Did you do the Cersei scenes? Did you go back to Scotland, or was it before that?
Yeah, Scotland was where we did the Cersei stuff. That was actually near the end of the journey. We basically
Okay.
did, while we were in Troy, we did, when we first got there, we did a bunch of training with George Cottle and Marlowe and Ash and Tom, all these amazing fight choreographers and stunt guys.
Hmm.
They kind of put us through the paces to be able to do some sword play and be able to have the sacking of Troy go the way that it needed to go.
Hmm.
Um, so we got right into that. So we had some time to get settled into that process, and then we started doing all the Troy stuff. And yeah, we did the beaches in Essaouira, which is like the coast of Morocco. That's where like the Troy beaches were, and then we did the city of Troy, and the Trojan horse and all that stuff was in Ouarzazate, which is like basically you go through the Atlas Mountains, and it's
Yes.
called the gateway to the Sahara. It's like right on the edge of where the Sahara begins, and
Okay.
tons,
Yeah. Yeah.
tons
Yeah.
of great movies have filmed there. It's sort of the Hollywood of Morocco,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where we did Old Troy. And what Ruth and everybody, I mean, the production design, like building the Temple of Athena and building all the stuff that you see in the film, They essentially
Yeah.
built off an ancient city that was sort of stacked into the mountain that was like centuries old, and they built a city in front of that for us to inhabit and go through all of that. So I mean, to just
Wow.
walk into that space and see all of that was incredible. And that was basically the month of February was all that. We were in Morocco for that. And then we went to Greece and we did some boat boot camp before we got into doing the Cyclops stuff, which was cool. That the boat boot camp was pretty great.
Oh, I bet. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's the 6 months, if you could ever say it. You Troy and Cyclops, and oh, I mean, yeah, you guys went through it, but I mean, what an experience. I mean,
Yeah,
what it's on to the next one, wasn't it? It's just on, and then
it
Nolan, like you
was.
say, doesn't skip out on anything.
That's right. There wasn't really ever, of course you have weekends off. Obviously, they kept it, humane, of
Of
course. But
course, yeah,
days are long, and then the days
yeah,
off, though, I didn't really want to try to recover on the days off too much because like you're in these amazing places that I'd never been to any of the places that we went. So I wanted to get out and see stuff, and a lot of the other guys did as well. So we would go out and sightsee on the weekends and sort of just try to take in, being
yeah,
lucky enough to be, getting to sightsee on while we're doing
yeah,
the movie, um,
yeah.
which was lovely.
Mm,
But yeah, there
mm.
wasn't a dull moment. And the boat boot camp was really cool because we had a lot to learn from, the Draken, which is the ship that is our ship in the film, and the
Yeah,
the crew of that ship, Bjorn, the captain, and the crew of that ship were absolute all stars. Those guys taught us what we needed to know, and did everything they could to make us look good and taught us how to raise the sail and how to row,
yeah,
and we had our Duffy Gabber was our fearless leader as well, with just all aspects of like being these warriors and leading the row and getting things going. That dude's a legend and such a pro. So it was just great, man. Like everyone around you is like top tier. So
yeah,
it's a lovely challenge to just try to rise to the level that everybody else is at, which I
yeah.
like. I think that's the only way you can get better, right? Is if
Exactly.
like with chess, they say, if you want to get good at chess, you got to play someone that's way better than you. You got to lose a lot so that you can
Yeah,
improve. So uh,
exactly that.
that was the case with this one.
Exactly that. And like you say, you learn a lot of skills from there, and get to see all these things play out. And I think I can't remember who mentioned it in an interview. Maybe it was Matt Damon or Hamish, but I'm really fascinated by the Cersei scene because I looked at that and thought that's got to be CGI. But then I saw in an interview that they did that in such a special way where they used practical effects. Is that right? That was all just practical effects. There's no CGI in that scene whatsoever.
Yeah, yeah, they did it all for real. I mean, that's been a fun reaction to see with the audience. I've seen the movie 3 times now, and only one of those times was with just a completely regular audience. And the reaction that scene has got. I mean, both that and the Cyclops scene really dabble into the horror genre,
Yes, yes,
especially the Cersei sequence for sure. There's Cronenberg elements to it in terms of just how
yeah,
graphic it gets. Uh,
yes, yeah,
it's wonderful. It's wonderful. So anyways, yeah, that was quite the sequence to do. Samantha Morton, man, again, I'm a broken
incredible.
record here, but yeah, she is. I've been a fan of her for a long time. She couldn't be more lovely and awesome and easy to work with, and you've seen it in the movie now. I mean, her performance is fantastic, and
It
we
is.
got the real pigs in there, and it was something, man. It was cool. And Ruth's set, they built this hovel, that whole thing they put together for her sequence, and just being in there was incredible. I was seated right next to the Raven in the cage. Is basically Raven, me, Samantha, and Hamesh. And to
Hmm,
be able
hmm.
to, you're eating the whole time, but to just
Yeah,
be in that space and see what's going on, it was cool.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
bet because you go through it in that scene because you're not just chucking down all this food, but I
Yeah.
assume you're having to do that, but then also you're getting all the makeup done at the same time. It must be you know,
Yeah. It was
quite a thing to
nuts.
film.
And a lot of the guys, I was one of the guys that didn't have to do the prosthetic stuff.
Okay, yeah,
I'm dancing around things, but the guys that did certainly had an even more challenging time because they had to,
of course, yeah,
they had to try to, do their work with a lot of extra elements that they don't normally have involved. So,
yeah,
um, man, that was a cool one. I'm glad. Honestly, all the stuff that's, you haven't experienced doing something, but you don't really know, till you see it, what it is. So
yeah.
the
And I think
movie,
what Hoyter and Nolan did with that, and bringing that to life, because in the book, as you'll know, like with Cersei uses her sort of magic wand, and it sort of does it in that way. You don't really hear still or read the grotesque stuff, and then I saw that for the first time and went, wow, like they really they went all out for this, and my God, it worked. It worked
yeah,
amazingly.
yeah, and it was a new take, right? Like that's the other thing too is like, my perspective with Chris is that he wants to do something new. He's not just trying to repeat what other people have done before. So like that's a good example of where he's trying to find a new way into how you might go about that with turning us into the pigs. And then even with like even something like the Trojan horse, right? Like that's a design we've never seen. Like any other interpretation, it's always sort of just like all hooves on the ground. That's just sort of what we're used to.
Hmm.
And I remember when I first saw it on set, I was like, dude, that's brilliant, man. Like, I would never think to have it rearing up like that. But he's not interested in doing what has been done. He wants to do his own thing. He wants to come up with something new. And I think it's more exciting for an audience because of that.
Well, absolutely, yeah. And I think the fact he did some things different from the book, I thought worked really well. Like for example, the Cersei scene. So him dabbling in those sort of horror elements as well really worked. So it was great to see. So I mean, what for you? I mean, like I said, you're in it for the majority of the film. You're there from the start to the end, where the ship obviously splits. But for yourself and your experience, was there a favorite scene or a favorite part for you to film or be part of?
Man, it's tough. It's a tough one. I think it man, it's really hard to pick. It's
Of yeah,
really hard to pick. I want
all
to
of it.
say the Cyclops cave was pretty special.
Okay,
Just the way that went. But I mean, man, I could talk about Hades. I could talk about Cersei's. I mean, there's the ship at sea stuff. I mean, that was really difficult. Like when we're, get tossed around. I mean, that's just what the ocean was doing to us.
yeah,
And
yeah,
uh, man, that was something else too. But you just had to remember, another thing I remember Duffy used to say, on a regular basis, Duffy would remind us as he was sort of leading the charge for us to get ready to row or to get going. He'd be like, guys, like right now, you men are the only people in the world doing this right now. Like, there's not many people that can say that, right? There's other people in
mm,
this moment right now that are doing a podcast or having a conversation, right? But the stuff we were doing on like a replica of like a ninth century Viking ship like rowing in a storm for the basically the what gave birth to Western literature, like the original story folktale. We were like the only ones doing that, and so there was something special about that where you could really connect to like, man, like this is crazy.
I bet that craziness is going to live with you for the rest of your life, being a part of that. Because yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, if I could
100%.
live as like a fly on the wall, or even just peeking to your mind about what it was like to actually be there. I mean, you hear
Yeah,
the interviews of Matt Damon being like shocked about how, when he opens the gates of Troy, he thought there'd be like 20 men there, but he opens it up and there's like 500 men running through. The
yeah,
length that the people that he brings in just to show that this isn't just a CGI project. This is the real thing, and just to be a part of that, I bet it was just
yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
a dream. It is. I describe it as a legacy project, right? Like
yeah,
it's something that like it's because of how special the movie is and the filmmaker is and the
yeah,
collective of people involved, I'm a
yeah.
very small part of this very giant crazy story, but it's still awesome, like I was
Of
telling
course.
somebody the other day, I would liken it to like in the sports world, it's like having a championship ring when you get to be in
Mm,
a Nolan movie. It's like, wow, I got a ring.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I, I'm not. by any means a large character in this thing, but I'm part of it. I'm part of that brotherhood with
Absolutely.
Odysseus, and that means so much. And like, yeah, it's crazy. So to your point, yeah, I feel that, man. I still sometimes it's still weird to me that I just feel so lucky that I got to be a part of it, man. Because it's
Of course.
literally
Yeah.
I'm a big folklore and mythology guy too. So um,
Okay.
like Robert Eggers is one of my favorite filmmakers, if not my favorite. So
Werewolf
um,
coming out this year. Oh.
oh man, I would have died to be a part of that film. I am the biggest Eggers fan, and so
So that's
as you
sort of the
go
next
with that,
aspiration for yourself, is it, to get onto a Robert Eggers film?
100%, man. I mean, he's top of the heap, for sure, for sure. And because I love his attention to detail, it's
Yeah.
transportive cinema is what it is,
Mm,
right? Like
mm.
when you watch The Lighthouse, when you're watching The North, when you're watching any of these films, it takes you to another place in time, and you get immersed with that, and I think that's what Chris has done with this. That's why I was so excited about it, because I was like, dude, this is going to be so transportive for an audience, and I feel like it is. When I see it on the screen, I'm just like, man, like we're really taking a time machine back. So anyways, very excited.
Yeah, I think that's what, like you say, you look at it on the big screen and you're just blown away by it. Like the score to everyone's acting, big or small, pivotal, or everyone brings something, and there's just so much. I want to sit down and watch the making of, because I know they've released a documentary now, and there's obviously the photography books that come in. There's so many things that I just want to look at just because
Yeah.
it's just incredible, And I think the final sort of big question I want to ask is, as a member of Odysseus's crew, did you get to keep anything from set? Did you have anything that you were allowed to take home at all, or not?
I wish, man, it would
Oh
have been
man,
so
you didn't get to
amazing
keep your
to
helmet.
have. Dude, that would have been the most amazing thing to be able to keep that. Yeah, I mean, pretty much everywhere we went, I took stuff from like just the place, right? So I've got like rocks from Morocco, and I, I
Amazing.
I found little keepsakes from all the countries we were in to sort of
Mm,
have a little shrine. I bought like different stuff in every place we were at, like a ship in Iceland, and these sort of medieval looking
amazing.
statues in Scotland. Like I just
Mm,
got little keepsakes like that.
yeah.
Um, and we definitely got production was very kind and gave us a lot of really cool swag in terms of just like cast and crew type stuff,
Oh,
uh,
amazing.
which is really rad. But yeah, to your question, man, I wish I had something, because that would be pretty special. But I'll settle for being in the thing, and
I
try to stay happy with that.
Not many people could say that. Oh, yeah, I was part of Odysseus's crew. Nothing too big.
So crazy, man. So
Mate, I
so
mean, I
crazy.
could sit there and ask like so much about it, but I think just being able to chat about it with yourself and find out a little bit more of what your experience was like was amazing. I can't wait to watch it again. To be honest with you, and watch it again after that, because it's just one of the most mind-blowingly incredible films I've seen in a long time. Um, where would you rank it? Let me ask you a quick question. Where would you rank it on Nolan's filmography, without the bias of you being in it?
That's hard, right? Because I don't know that anyone will believe me, right? Because I have such a reverence for all of his films. Before seeing this, my favorite Nolan film was The Prestige. But again, that could also be connected to my whole loving the sort of transportive gothic horror cinema.
Yeah,
That was kind
yeah,
of his
yeah.
only like further back period piece that he had made. So The Prestige was my number one film before this. At this moment right now, after seeing it three times, I honestly think I like this film the best. But it's hard to remove myself from the equation because I'm probably biased. But I do think it might be his best, and that's saying something, because his whole resume is just like stock full of amazing stuff.
Amazing,
So,
amazing.
but yeah, that's what I think that's where I'd put it. What about you? Where do you land?
See, like you said, Nolan's got one of those filmographies where I don't think he's got a bad film, even though his like first early project of, I think it's called The Following, on top of my
Yeah,
head.
following. Yeah,
You know, he doesn't give anything out bad. Everything he puts everything into it. And
yeah.
I looked at his filmography again the other day, and I was like, "Oh, where do I put this?" And right now, I've got it second behind Interstellar, and I know people are going to come for me for that, but
Dude, Interstellar is incredible.
Interstellar's incredible.
Incredible.
I've got
Yeah.
the Odyssey, and then like even the Prestige is great, and that's due a rewatch. But he's just he's one of those ones where he's not got a clear, definitive winner of a best film. It's just
Yeah.
everyone's got such a different opinion of either The Dark Knight or whatever. I think that's what's amazing about Nolan. Everyone's got such a different opinion about him.
100%. And when he's dabbling in so many different genres too. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, you wouldn't expect the guy that did Memento to also do The Dark Knight, and then also have Dunkirk, and also have Interstellar, and have Oppenheimer, and now the Odyssey. Like,
I mean,
he's literally playing in every genre,
yeah,
and this is the one, what I understand is that this was sort of the bucket list project for him, and the one he always wanted to do.
yeah,
So to again be lucky enough to be part of it, man,
yeah.
the incredible.
I bet, man. I bet. But I mean, thank you for giving me your time to be able to chat about this film and chat about your experience, because it's just maybe it's just yeah, it's got me extremely excited to watch it again.
Yeah, man.
So if you're watching this, you hopefully would have seen the Odyssey, but I mean, go and watch it again, because it's something to be seen. And I know a lot of people struggle to get to the biggest screens because there aren't the biggest screens everywhere, but I saw it on the BFI IMAX, which is the UK's biggest screen, and it was one of the best experiences I've had in a cinema. So if you can make your journey to London to go and watch it, please do. But Ryan, thank you for coming on. We'll stop
Yeah,
the
man.
podcast there, and then I'll catch up with you. But if you're watching this and you haven't hit the follow button, make sure to hit that follow button and let us know all of your thoughts about the Odyssey in the comments. Until next time. So thank you, Ryan.
Cheers, brother. Thank you for having me.